Good morning, everybody. Welcome into JAKIB Sports here. Welcome into a special edition of Football 24/7, recapping previewing, I should say, Eagles Day 15 down at training camp. Just 3 days left of open to the media. So today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today is Tuesday, August 20th. Tomorrow, 21st, and Thursday, the 22nd. It will be the last three practices for the media. So John McMullen will join me shortly by phone from the car. We'll get his update on what's going on down at practice today. I'll recap some of what we've heard so far, some of the developments in recent weeks with you guys. Got a good crowd in here already this morning. Appreciate everybody being in here. Jason, Jeff, Paul Mancini, Chan. What's up, Chan? Cody K. Appreciate all you guys. Eduardo's in here. Filioso, DJ, everybody, anybody I missed. Sorry I missed you, but I appreciate you being here. Make sure you guys hit that like button this morning, and let's get into camp a little bit. So far, there's been a change in tide the last couple of days, and I think it's been a good thing overall. The defense has started to step up, and you're starting to see some different looks from Vic Fangio. You're starting to see blitzes. You're starting to see, different coverages, different setups, and all sorts of different looks on the defense that really seem to be working. I mean, this is a defensive coordinator that's been around for 30, 40 years. I don't anticipate him blitzing more than he normally does. But when you hear, him at the press conference, and he's like, oh, I'm not doing that for the offense, for whatever reason, whether it's because he doesn't believe in his players, because he doesn't think he has the talent to run his base scheme, he's blitzing a lot more this week, and the defense has had a good week. I mean, John reported we had two shows on Saturday and Sunday. I'm not sure if any of you guys caught them, but if you did catch them, they were the first two practices of camp that John said these were decided defensive wins. It was easy to say the defense won the day, and we haven't had that at all through camp. So it's a very good thing. I'm very intrigued by the linebacker development right now. My big question remains, Nakobe Dean has looked better now. He's the number one, at least that's how John's seeing it, that Nakobe Dean looks the best out of anybody. Is that good for the Eagles, or is that good compared to the other linebackers in the league, right? Like, we have a crappy linebacker room. So is he just good for here and it's not really that good of a thing? Or is he good across the league? And I think that's something we'll continue to monitor. And obviously, we're not going to find all that out until the games are being played. But very exciting stuff for that. And obviously, a lot of fans, me included, have been waiting for Nakobe Dean to kind of make his push and get on that field and be an impact player for the Eagles. So that's something I'm hopeful that he can do. We've heard a little bit more about Bryce Huff recently. Bryce Huff has been making some plays. He was pretty good in those opening couple of series versus the Patriots. So I thought that was positive. He was apparently very good in practice again over the weekend. So we'll see what he's able to do today. By the way, they had weekend practice. They had a walkthrough yesterday, so no media. And then, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week, they will be on the practice field. So we will have nighttime editions, by the way, of Birds 365. We will not have morning shows for Tuesday, today, Wednesday, tomorrow, and Thursday, August 22nd. So they will all be nightcap editions, and then that'll probably be the last of our nightcap shows until the season rolls around, and there might be some stuff that John needs to do during the week for the football season. So other than that, I think we're in a good position. I think, I'm excited about getting into the season. We're really close, everybody. It's August 20th. I'd have to do the countdown. I guess it's 17 days. I think it's 17 days. Yeah, 17 days until September 6th. So 16 days until the Chiefs and the Ravens, I believe it is, kick off on opening night on that Thursday. And then that Friday night, kind of a primetime game, obviously, here on Friday night. Not used to what we're seeing with football, but a Friday night game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And the Eagles will kick off versus the Packers. Eduardo says, Jesus, 17 days already. Eduardo, I'm with you, brother. It's unbelievable, man. This offseason has gone by so quick. It's been my first offseason hosting, and I'm just, balancing everything, learning everything, trying to get better at this, get better at my craft. And I look up and I'm like, whoa, the season's here. So it's pretty good stuff. But, you get lost in the days sometimes, and it's good to sit back, relax, and think about it and prepare kind of for the season. So very exciting stuff. John McMullen will be joining me shortly. We'll continue to kick around practice. Cameron Robinson's in here. Cam, what's up, brother? Eagles X's and O's. What's up, Eagles X's? Hope you're doing well, man. Crowley's in here. Crowley, good morning, man. Hope you're doing well. Madness, what's up, Madness? Appreciate you being here, man. Madness has the inside track on the Xander, so he follows me on my personal Instagram. So he saw me grilling up this weekend. Not many of our viewers have me followed over there. So if you want a little behind the scenes look, no football over there yet, but behind the scenes look, go follow me on my Instagram at Xander Kraus. But Madness is in there. So Madness, appreciate you being here, man. Cody K. So good stuff. Let's talk offense. I saw Elliott Shore Park put some stuff up this morning, and I'm not sure how much you guys care about. I'm not sure how much you guys care about the training camp stats. It might not matter much, and I get that, but I will say it's a positive thing for this. There's two ways to look at it. It could be negative, right? Like you hear the national media, you heard some of those national shows talking about Jalen Hurts. Oh, he's not pushing the ball downfield. How do you have no interceptions in training camp? All those things. I'm not gonna speculate one way or the other whether Jalen Hurts is not pushing the ball down the field or not. But I will say, Elliott from WIP put this up this morning, and he's obviously infamous for tracking the training camp stats. So he put up the comparison through 14 practices from this year and last year. So 2023 and 2024. 2023, Jalen Hurts was 165 of 222. He had 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 74% completion percentage. This year, he's 209 for 273. So a lot more attempts. I don't know if that's offense, if that's Jalen, if that's Kellen. Whatever, he's 21 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So 6 more touchdowns, 4 less interceptions, obviously a 0, a 77% completion percentage, and 273 attempts, 51 more attempts in practice through 14 days than last year, which, look, like I said, you might not care about the stats, and I understand that. But this is what we have in August, and I think it's a positive thing that QB1 is bouncing back strong and having a good camp. Looks like I just got John McMullen in the green room. Let me bring up our man John McMullen and see what he has to say before day 15 here. Bring up Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac, do I have you, man? You out there?
Yeah, you got me?
I got you, man. You sound good. How you doing on this Tuesday morning, Johnny Mac?
Trying to scramble around as usual.
Yeah, good. Stay safe out there. Make sure you keep your eye on the road, Johnny Mac. And let me know when the Walt Whitman comes and you might drop out. But John, what's the schedule today, man? Who's scheduled to speak before practice? What's the rundown of the day today, day 15 of training camp? Oh, I might have lost John. Oh, I got you back, John, if you're there.
Yeah, you got me?
I got you now, yep.
Before practice is Kellen Moore today.
Got it.
Which will be interesting because the weekend wasn't great for the offense, and there were some complaints too, so that were pretty evident. So I'm sure Kellen will be asked about that at some point. If it's not me, it'll certainly be somebody else. So that'll be interesting to see how he handles that, because I talk about it all the time. I think expectations is a big part of this process, especially with the offense. And the expectations are so large. It's almost hard to live up to them. And that, it's intangible, and I get it. And people want to put numbers on things and concrete answers, but I think you saw last year about what expectations can do to a team, and I'm a little bit concerned about how they handle that.
Is part of that coming from the scuffle at practice the other day, where it's like you don't get one play and everybody gets bent out of shape? Is that part of it, or is this just an overall feeling right now, 15 days into camp for you, that the expectations are very high again?
Well, no, that's an overall feeling. I mean, I've had that feeling since the spring. I've had that feeling since last year when most people describe a top 10 offense as a disaster, including the Eagles, by the way. So I'm not just picking on the fans. That talks about typically, if you have a top 10 offense in the NFL, no matter how you got there, you're not getting fired. And the Eagles fired people. And that kind of explains, and I don't want to re-legislate the collapse. Everybody lived through it. But at the end of the day, I say it all the time, number 8 offense, number 7 in scoring offense, number 3rd and 3rd downs, number 1 and 4th downs. Those numbers are significant when you compare them to the rest of the league, and that's what you should do. So you can be disappointed, but you can also be realistic and say, well, I thought they'd be a top 3 offense. I thought they'd be better. All that stuff, yeah, that's fine. But if you're unrealistic about it, it becomes a bit of an issue. And I think, it's tough to shut out outside voices at times. And the expectations on this offense, because you add Saquon Barkley to the mix that was already here, is even greater than it was last year. And
no doubt. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And Sunday, look, it hasn't been consistent, but they were on the field closest to us, and guys were complaining about red zone plays, which is natural when you have a lack of success, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll see what ends up happening. I mean, I think the expectations are a real thing, as you point out, John, but hopefully they're in a position to be able to handle them, to learn from what happened last year, and not get over their skis. I mean, it is football. You're playing against a lot of other good teams too. So as long as we can manage them throughout the year and get into the playoffs and then go from there, I think it's an okay thing. And there's a lot of talent on this team. John, Kellen Moore speaking this morning. I know he doesn't give you much like Vic Fangio does. Any question that you're looking for from Kellen? Anything on your mind that you want to hear from him or get an answer on?
Yeah, just what I said about sort of the grumbling a little bit and how he's going to handle that, how he does handle it. Do you shut it out in the moment? Kinds of things like that. How do you handle? Because that happens everywhere. It's not like it didn't happen in Dallas. I'm sure it happened last year with the Chargers at times. It's going to happen everywhere, and that stems to success of winning or losing football games. So, I think this formula for this team is to be very good offensively and just pick it up defensively and become, maybe upside 13, 14 in the NFL, middle of the road. As long as they do that, I think they're a better football team.
I agree.
But I think, I think people should, scale it back to say, well, this might be a better football team because the defense is going to contribute more. I think you're going to be in the same wheelhouse offensively, hopefully with not the ebbs and flows, but the same kind of wheelhouse.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up going. John, the last couple of days, it seems that the tide has turned a little bit in camp. What have you seen from the offense in those 2 days? I know we did recaps on those days, but defense got decided wins this weekend. Is that concerning for the offense, or is it more just a positive thing to see the defense kind of come along in camp here and get some wins? What did you see from those couple of days where the defense turned the tide on the Eagles?
Well, I don't think the first team offense has been bad. It's been the second and third team were really dominated over the weekend. And more so Sunday. Saturday was a yellow practice. Sunday's a green practice. That's a big difference. Saturday, Vic mentioned he installed a bunch of blitzes and he was just working on that. So they were coming at them. And I think it surprised the offense to a certain degree because they're not used to seeing that from their own defense. They're expecting it from others, but they're not used to it from their own. And Vic we were all interested in that yesterday, and Vic confirmed, no, he wasn't working with the offense at all. He wasn't trying to help them. He was trying to just work on what he needed to work on defensively. And I think that kind of explains the lack of a stellar day on Saturday. And Sunday, as I said, you didn't have Lane Johnson. Mekhi Becton left early, and it looks like he's going to be fine. Well, at least, I mean, he's always limping. He plays with a brace, so I think you have to be concerned about that. But not from a serious standpoint. No structural damage. So he should be ready to go, certainly for week one. And we'll see how long, or if they even keep him out of practice. Landon Dickerson as well. I think they should shut him down at least for a few days, but we'll see how they handle that. So part of the issue was the offensive line not having the top guys out there. And even with that, they were solid. Jalen Hurts still hasn't thrown an interception. You've heard that, the all-time record. Everybody cites Elliott. God bless Elliott. Everybody cites that as a fact. There's no preseason record books, but it is what it is. He still hasn't thrown an interception. So, he's had a great summer, and that continues. But the second, third team got dominated. So, if you're sitting there and those reps are ugly, and those reps were ugly offensively, you get the feeling that the defense dominated the day, and they did dominate the day. But, the second, third teamers aren't hopefully playing.
Right. Yeah. John, you asked the question yesterday to Chris Franklin about the Vic Fangio blitzing at practice and the change in kind of how he's approached practices. What have you seen from him and how he's decided to, kind of blitz more or change up the looks on defense? What have you seen? And then a follow-up, why do you think he's done that? Is it because he doesn't trust the personnel, or is it he just wants different looks? What have you seen from Vic, and why is he doing that?
No, the thing about Vic is he's very, and that's why he's become who he's become. He's very meticulous. He prepares. He wants to be ready to pull things out at a moment's notice. And if you don't practice those things, you're not going to feel comfortable pulling them out on game day. So he's very situationally focused. And as I said, on Saturday, he's installed specifically a bunch of new blitzes, and he wanted to work on them in practice. Again, that's that thought process of practice is not the game. It's not a replicant of the game. He's working on one particular thing, and he beat it to death because he's trying to get it done. You don't have a lot of time in the modern NFL, so you have to take advantage of all your practice windows and all that kind of stuff. So I think way too many people assume practice is just you go out there and play it like a game. It's the exact opposite, especially with a guy like Vic Fangio. He's going to work on certain things. He's going to work on run defense and run fits. One practice that might be kind of boring, he's going to blitz you like that in one practice, but it's not an indication of his overall philosophy. There you can look at, he's been coaching for a very long time. And you got a long sample size, and you can see he's generally in the low 20% when it comes to the blitz. He's probably going to blitz Jaden Daniels or somebody like that, a rookie quarterback. He's probably going to blitz them a lot. And if he's got a veteran who understands how to handle it, he's probably going to lean more towards coverage. So he's very situationally focused, and everything about him is that, from the variable fronts to the different coverages. It's a defense that will not look the same week to week depending on the opponent, which is what you want.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So we'll see. But with Vic Fangio, John, you think he has the guys that he needs right now to be successful with his defense?
Yeah, he said this. He said he likes his guys, but he doesn't know. That's a question better asked mid-season.
Yeah.
I think the front is tremendously gifted, talented, but they're still young. You lost some experience with Fletcher Cox, certainly. Brandon's still there, but you need Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith to come through in a big way. And, I like the projection of Bryce Huff, but it's no guarantee of anything. The linebackers have been the talk the past few days, and the past 7 or 10 days with Nakobe Dean. And I think people forget, like, we're gauging, when we say these wonderful things about Nakobe Dean, I'm gauging that against the rest of the linebackers. Look, it's a universal thought around the league that this is one of the 5 worst linebacking rooms in the NFL. That hasn't changed. What has changed for me is, well, I think Nakobe's elevated himself from the rest of the group, but that doesn't mean he's Fred Warner. So they still have some issues at the second level. And then they're much more talented in the secondary, but that's even more than what I said on the defensive front. I mean, everybody essentially outside of Slay and the cornerbacks is unproven for the most part. Little bit with Isaiah Rodgers in Indianapolis, but a lot of uncertainty there. So you're going to have some hiccups and they're going to make mistakes. But I always go back to Kansas City and what they did 2 years ago and played their young defensive backs, got the startup cost out of the way, and all of a sudden they turned into really good players. I think that should be the Eagles' template. But there will be hiccups early in the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good answer there, Johnny Mac. I'm curious to see, and I kind of said that about what you just said before you got on here this morning. I'm like, Nakobe Dean, he's looked good, but is that good by NFL standards, or is that just good on the Eagles, where the linebacking core is not so great? So I guess we'll be watching that closely and seeing what he's able to do at that position. John, any update on Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? By the way, he kind of came on. How did he look over the weekend and for the last couple of days here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a lot of potential for a day 3 pick. I think he's very instinctive. He's worked himself to the point where he's getting first team reps and is rotationally put in there every day. So that's a positive. But again, sort of what we talked about with the linebacker room as a whole, I think, on another team, he could be doing the same things and he's not getting first team reps. So you have to sort of weigh that. But I now think that there's a really good chance that by mid-season or so, he can get quite a bit of playing time if things go negatively with some of the other linebackers. And that's all you want out of a day 3 pick, a guy you think maybe he can play. I mean, there's a lot of optimism. I don't think he had a great game in New England. So it's going to be the same thing with any young player. It's going to be some ups and downs. But I think overall, when you look at him, and Trevor Keegan maybe as well offensively, has looked like the game has not looked too big for him. So if you look at day 3 picks and you start thinking about down the road, those guys look like they have potential to be contributors, at least down the road.
Good stuff there. John, the injury list has been getting bigger and bigger here in practice. What are the most concerning injuries to you, and any update on any of the key guys, and also a Cooper DeJean update when you're done. But any of the injuries, what's the most concerning to you right now? Because that list is getting longer, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about the offensive line with nagging stuff. I mean, the positive is most of the Eagles' injuries have been, day-to-day things, or at worst week to week. If you think about Cooper DeJean at the start of camp, there haven't been a lot of shut down the guy for either the season or a significant portion of the season, the torn ACLs, things like that. They lost McAllen Castles, who's an undrafted free agent. They lost Tyler Hall, who I thought, at one point had a chance to maybe make some noise. And they lost LaRaven Clark if you want to go way back to the spring, but none of the key contributors. So I think that's the positive. The negative is to me that offensive line, because that remains the strength of the team overall, in my opinion. And Lane's had a toe issue, Landon's had a toe and a knee, and is fighting through that knee every day to the point where I don't know why they're forcing it at this stage.
I know
Probably
Landon's
because
a tough guy, but like,
he
why?
is a tough,
Yeah,
immensely tough guy,
be tough in
and
the
that's the
season though. I don't need
mentality.
him to be tough. Yeah,
That's the standard here because of Kelsey. And I think, all right, I don't care about reps on August 21st, wherever we are. It might be ugly for a practice if you don't have them, like it was on Sunday when you lost them, when you lost Mekhi Becton and Lane was getting a Veterans Day. So Mekhi, as I mentioned, they dodged a bullet there, but he's been limping a bunch, and he got upset when he was asked about. He wears a big bulky brace on his right leg from a previous injury, and that tends to be the leg he favors when he's limping. And he's a 365-pound guy or somewhere in that range. And when you talk about leg injuries, Sixers fans will know with Joel Embiid, with big guys, that ain't good. When you're carrying all that weight around. So a little bit concerned about those nagging injuries on the offensive line, but at least they're not big time injuries and injuries that are going to cost you seasons or multiple weeks.
yeah, good stuff, John, on the injury report. By the way, reminder for everybody, we have a live edition of Birds 365 tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. John is obviously in the car right now, heading down to NovaCare Complex. So tonight we will have a Birds 365, 6 to 8 p.m., and that goes for tomorrow and Thursday as well. Johnny Mac, 3 practices left for you guys. What are you looking for? What are you hoping to get out of these next 3 practices, the last available to the media before the season?
It's the dog days of August. I think they're just going to try to finish strong, and you want that consistency. So if you talk about, I think, as I said, the story over the past week or so has been the resurgence of Nakobe Dean, player like that. You can't just show up. You got to stretch of 3. Now, if you have 3 practices, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, where he just looks like his normal pre-self, for lack of a better term, he's getting beaten coverage. All of a sudden that little spike doesn't mean all that much. So everybody wants to finish strongly. And I would say, I know what Kellen's going to say. He wants a clean operation. There's been a real uptick in pre-snap penalties, I would say, over the past 7-10 days on the offense as well. So I'm sure he's going to talk about that. And they want to get cleaner with the operation. But just guys need to finish strong. And certainly the bubble players, probably even more important than anyone else. The staff probably 95% knows who's going to be here next Tuesday when they make the cut. But there are 3-4 players that can probably state a case and try to make the back end of the roster. And obviously, from that standpoint, guys like Tristan McCullum, the depending what they do on safety, there's so many. That's probably the most uncertain position because there's so many moving parts. Are they going to keep Bradbury? Or are they going to trade him? Is Caden Stern even close to being healthy enough to where you can consider carrying him on the 53? And does Vic like him enough to do that? Sidney Brown, and where the assumption is where he's going to be back in the mix. There's so many question marks at the safety position. The backups, not talking about CJ is back and was in team drills. Reed is has been there the entire time. But the backup situation is very, very cloudy.
Yeah, we'll see how it all shakes out. Johnny Mac, thanks for joining this morning, man. Get down to practice safely. We'll be looking forward to your report tonight on Birds 365. Good stuff this morning, John. Thanks, man.
All right, good timing because I just hit the bridge, so I'll probably drop out anyway.
All right, Johnny Mac. I'll catch you, man. See ya.
All right, see ya.
There's John McMullen joining us on not Birds 365. Sorry about that. On Football 24/7. Good stuff from John. They're previewing these last couple of days of camp. I think the Vic Fangio comments were interesting. The injuries are getting a little concerning to me. I got to be honest. You don't want to see those pile up too much. And when you hear them run down that offensive line, that is the strength of the team, and that will change the offense more than losing any skill player, I believe, on that side. If you lose a Lane Johnson and another guy on the offensive line, I mean, you're just going to be in trouble. So we got to hopefully those injuries all come around good and everything holds strong, and the Eagles get some luck this year, because that's part of it too, where you need some luck. But I'm going to go to the chat, take some comments from you guys. I'm not going to go too long this morning. I will be live again, by the way, for all who are in here. I will be live again at 12:15. I believe I put the time, 12:15 p.m. So 12:15 Eastern, so about 4 hours from now, to recap the practice. It'll be a brief recap, just going off what I saw from the beat reporters who were down there, and I'll have John send me some notes of things that stood out to him. But I'll do that at 12:15 today to recap, and then again we'll be live tonight, Birds 365 tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. on a nightcap edition. So looking forward to that. Let me go check out my chat, see who's in here. I see Chan, Cali Baby. Good morning, Cali Baby. How you doing, brother? Joho, Crowley, Twiz. Appreciate all you guys in here. Let me see some comments here. Twiz says depth at linebacker is decent if Dean can stay healthy. Twiz, I agree. I mean, and you heard John kind of talk about that, where they have a bunch of guys who are serviceable backups. They just don't have a real great player. Now, Dean has now taken that step forward where he looks better. It'll be interesting to see, Twiz. Is he just better because he's better than Ben Van Sumeren and, Zach Bond? Or is he actually a serviceable linebacker in the NFL, right? In the NFL terms, comparing all 32 teams, all linebackers throughout the league. That'll be the question at linebacker. So it's definitely still not a loaded position, obviously. Hopefully Dean can be that guy, though. And he'll step up. We'll see. Chan says, damn, Chan, I meant to ask this to Johnny Mac. Chan says, how we going shopping around roster cuts? No doubt. I wonder, I said, we know where the positions that probably were how we would add more players. Is he going to do it, though? What's the most likely? Does it make sense roster-wise? Remember, we have a lot of guys, young guys, players that this team probably doesn't want to cut that are vying for that roster spot. You got a bunch of cornerbacks, you got a bunch of linebackers, you got a bunch of wide receivers, you got safeties, with Bradbury and Maddox. If they move to safety, how do they work those young corners in? Running backs, and I think they'll probably just keep 3 there, but offensive linemen, there's a lot to juggle with that 53-man roster. So if they are going to bring somebody in, who would it be and where, and how much of an impact type of player do you need to get, right? Like if it's not going to be an impact player, you could wonder why would Howie go that route, So we'll see what he's going to do. But Johnny Mac thinks they're going outside the locker room for wide receiver 3. We will see what they do that. S. Betts is in here. Good morning, S. Betts. Thanks for being a channel member. Appreciate that. Wayne the Pain in here, channel member. Thanks for being a channel member. Twiz, by the way, thank you for being a member. You've been here for a long time, so we appreciate that. Joe says, where the hell is Paris Campbell? Paris Campbell has been hurt a little bit. He had a groin injury, so he's been kind of nursing that. I don't know what he's going to be this year. The problem with Paris Campbell, I think he's would be a decent wide receiver 3, but he provides no advantage, on the outside if you want to move, Devontae to the inside, if God forbid one of those guys goes down. And I think that's why they would continue to look. But interesting name there to call him Paris Campbell. We appreciate that. Let me see if I can see any other comments. You guys are joshing around with everybody in the chat, so I'm trying to see if you guys have any good topics. Put them in there 3 times so I can see them. I'm trying to get some takes from the chat right now to see what you guys are thinking. I always love checking in because I do a show, but at the end of the day, what I think is important isn't always what's the most important. I want to do what you guys like too. I want to talk to John and Cilio about what you guys want to talk about. So that's why I go to the chat check. But I do appreciate all you guys being in here this morning. A lot of trolling in here today, though, folks. I'm not pulling much from the comments. I'm scrolling through and seeing, but I appreciate all you guys being here nonetheless. So if you guys have some good commentary, I'll hit on it, but I will keep running through the defense a little bit. I'll be live for a little bit longer this morning. Let's talk Quinyon Mitchell, right? He kind of had a fast start to camp. It's simmered down a little bit, but I do believe we got one with him, guys. I think he's going to be a good player. I think, I said this on Cilio yesterday, that whenever you draft a guy and he's drafted next to another player at his position, and especially because we went first, so we had the choice, they're kind of compared all along. Like, you just think back to our nightmare pick, Jalen Reagor. Even all the receivers that got picked that year, I think it was Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb was picked, and then Justin Jefferson went after CeeDee Lamb. Nobody's mad at CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee's been pretty good, but everybody compared Reagor and Jefferson. Now we have Teron Arnold, who the Lions picked a couple spots after us, is going to be compared with Quinyon Mitchell, who we picked. I believe both of them are going to be great players. I think it's going to be more like CeeDee Lamb and Jefferson, where you got your guy, more so than it would be, Jalen Reagor, God forbid. Whew, man, we would not want to have that. But I think we got a great player, is my point. I think we got a great player with him, regardless of what Teron Arnold can do. But I think both of them are going to be great. Remember, I'm a Bama guy. I went to Alabama. That was my school. I had a good years down at the University of Alabama. Not much down there, by the way. So if you're in the Northeast, I think you should appreciate the Northeast. Outside the city of Tuscaloosa, there is not much. But no, it was a good time down there. So I was a big Teron Arnold fan. But I think he's going to have a great career. But I think we got our guy with Quinyon Mitchell. I think he's going to be our corner here for a long time. So we'll see what he's able to do. Here's some questions. Anthony Crowback. What's up, Anthony? Thanks for being here this morning. I like that picture, man. You got the money. You got the glasses. I don't know if they're effects or what they are, but pretty good stuff. He says, would you prefer for wide receiver 3, Mechie or Dotson? Well, what makes you think they're going to get rid of Dotson? I could see Mechie being on the move because of how many receivers they have down there in Houston, but I don't know about Dotson. I mean, maybe because they paid McLaurin, so maybe Dotson could be on the move. If I had my pick of those guys, I'd probably pick Dotson, but I just don't think Dotson's going to be on the move. But I love the idea of Mechie. I think Mechie provides great in East. I see you say that too. I think he would provide a great wide receiver 3. But remember, he was a guy that I don't know exactly what it was. It was either leukemia or some form of cancer that Mechie had when he got into the league. He was a great player down at the University of Alabama. I just talked about Alabama. Those guys are all over the league, but he's a great player. But is he that same guy? I don't. Obviously, I pray for his health and I hope he's all right. But I guess that could be a concern. With that. So Isaiah, I might have to talk to you, man. Anders Erickson is his name. I bet you. So Isaiah, this is funny. This is good stuff here, right here. Sorry to get off the Eagles for a second, but my roommate in college, who's actually from the area, one of my roommates, I had several of them, but in my sophomore year, my roommate, his name was Ernie. He was the equipment manager at that same time, and I was there when I was there, a freshman. Jalen was a freshman as well. Tua came in, I believe, a year after me. Right, he was 1 year younger than Jalen, and then Mac Jones, I think, was there with Tua as well, and he was that backup for a couple years. So I bet you Anders knows my boy Ernie because they were both equipment managers. I don't know your friend though, but good stuff that my friend was an equipment manager too. I got all the Alabama gear from him, so that's pretty good stuff. Jeff says, Xander, does Maddox make this team? I think he does, Jeff. I think he does. When you look at that back end, you look at the inexperience, the problem with Maddox has never been his ability. It's always been the availability, and that's obviously a big thing. Obviously, he's not out there much, but I do think he's going to make the team because I just think they need an older guy that can play at that corner. Now, I don't know if he'll start. I don't think he'll start, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. It wouldn't surprise me if he was that starting nickel corner, while they wait for Cooper DeJean to get ramped up. But I do think he makes the team, Jeff. That would be my projection on him. Demaria follows up on an Avante question. Why do you think Avante has fallen out of the coach's favorite? Just 2 years ago, he was considered the top nickel. Do you think it's just the injuries or has his game declined? Demaria, he was great last year when he played. I think it's those injuries. I mean, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Let me pull up real quick, just the numbers and get the games played on everything, because I would like to run through this. You're right. He's a good player. I mean, let me get to the stats and see. Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, Demaria, and I think it's 100% not the play on the field. He's a 28-year-old guy, born in 96. So last season he had 4 games played, 10 games played in 2022. 2021 he had 16, so pretty good. 2020 he had 10. 2019 he had 12. 2018 he had 13. So he's never played a full season ever in his tenure. Drafted in 2018. I think that's just tough to rely on a guy, for that. That's why I think he could be a good option here as a backup, or, put him on the roster for depth and experience, because I do think he's a good player. I don't think it's entirely I don't think it's his play. I do think it's his injuries, to answer your question. But thanks for being a member, Demara. We appreciate that. Isaiah follows up. Yeah, Ernie Spiato, his name is. You can ask Isaiah. Ernie Spiato. I don't know if Ernie will care that I'm saying his name on the air, but Ernie was the man. I actually just got lunch with my boy Ernie and my other roommate, Chuck. So those are my 2 roommates. I just got lunch with them last week, so it was good to catch up with them. I haven't seen them in a little bit, so I would have asked Ernie had I saw him. But Forte says Xander found his favorite hat. This is true. So Forte, this was a gift to me, and it's this brand. I don't want to give them too many plugs, but it's like a $70 hat, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We're now charging $70 for hats, but I wore it and I quickly came, okay, I kind of see why it's $70. I think it's a little pricey, but it's very high quality. It's like waterproof. So, I'm sweating a lot right now. It's hot outside. So this hat has just been a go-to. And the best part about it is you just toss it in the washer and it comes out and looks perfect. So I'm like, all right, it's pretty good. I mean, it's for $70. I don't want to pay $70, but it better be damn good if I am paying $70. But you're right. I did find my favorite hat. Maybe I'll get a couple more of them so I don't keep the same one on forever. But I appreciate you pointing that out. Any other good comments in the chat? I will run on. Kevin Savard says Jones is still a backup. You got that right, my man. Good stuff there. I see some D-line talk. This is good. I'd like to talk D-line a little bit before we get out of here. Wayne the Pain, Carter and Davis are the key to success for defense. No doubt about that. How are you guys feeling about the depth at the defensive tackles? I mean, at the D-line, but mostly at the interior of the D-line. I'm very high on Carter. I'm honestly higher on Davis than most fans, I think, at least. I don't know where you guys are on Jordan Davis. I know he gets a lot of talk. I know he gets a lot of hate, and I get it. It sucks that you're not, conditioned properly at this point, but I am very high on Jordan Davis. I think he's going to be a great player, and I think Vic Fangio is going to use him right. But after that, I do like Milton. I see Jalen brings up Milton. Milton's a good player too. But in those 5-man fronts, that's where you're going to rely on the backups. Marlon and Mora with Jomo and that Booker. Thomas Booker has been getting some talk. So, I like these guys, but it's tough to put into the context. Like, are they going to be able to play at a high enough level to be backups? Because you do want to take some of the pressure off those young guys. You're relying. I mean, read the comment. Carter and Davis are the key. Well, if they're the key, those are young guys to make keys, which I don't think is a bad thing. But you also want to have a setup where they can thrive and they can have players that can come in and take significant snaps, to keep them healthy, to keep them fresh. So I think that's a real, a real concern after them. But I feel pretty good. I mean, I like Marlon Tuipulotu, and apparently Mora Jomo has had a great camp. So maybe we're good there, but I will say I'm with you on this. I think the key to that defense is going to be more than just those 2 guys. It's going to be that whole defensive front. And, whatever the Eagles need to do to make them optimized and play the best, I would be willing to do if I were them. So we'll see. what they do. These drop-in ads, Wayne says, yeah, that's all YouTube, guys. I can't control that. So the only thing I do is I turn on monetization for our shows because I got to make money. You guys know that, I'm sure. So, but I don't know why they drop them in at such inopportune times. And it seems like they've really had an uptick in ads. And by the way, just a little business, a little business teaching for you guys. If you're not familiar with this industry, it is election season. So the ads in election season, they cost more money for people and they run them more. So maybe Google is trying to capitalize on that a little bit and they're running a lot of ads across YouTube. I'm not really sure. The other thing is Q4, which we're going to go into for football season, is also the biggest ads month of the year with the holidays and with Christmas and Hanukkah, if you celebrate that, whatever you celebrate, but obviously the holidays are a big time for ad campaigns. So I don't know what's going on, but I've got that comment a couple times. If I could do something to help you, I would do something. I'm with Anthony. I use YouTube Premium, so I don't know. I don't get them as much, but I'm sorry that they've been an impact. But just know they do help us stay on the air. So if you're just watching and you don't want to skip the ad, that's fine. It does help us. So at least know that if you hate the ad, it's helping us be on the air. So that's key. Kevin Savar says Milton Williams is good. Jordan's going to be fine. The backups other than Milton, yeah, that's the problem, Kevin. We just hit that. Marlon, Morrow. Who's it going to be and how good are they going to be? Those are the questions. So we'll see what they're able to do. Jeff Martin says thanks. Wayne says thanks. All right, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. Remember, I'll be live again at 12:15. By the way, for all of our channel members, I see a couple of them in here. Wayne the Pain is a channel member. Eduardo Rez is a channel member. Twiz the Jig is a channel member. I pinned the comment above. Mr. Perez is a channel member. I pinned the comment up in the chat that says, if you want to win a Saquon Barkley jersey, consider becoming a member. I'm going to give myself our channel a shameless plug here. If you guys want to become a member, one, you get entered into the giveaway, but two, it really helps support our channel. It goes a long way in being a member. S Betts is in here. She's a member. So if you want to become a channel member and you support the channel and you're up for it, I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just saying if you're willing to, it does go a long way. So I would appreciate it if you became a member. And then we're also giving away Saquon Barkley jerseys all year long. So if you're familiar with it, we're doing every time Saquon gets 125 yards in a game, we're giving away a jersey that week. So it's kind of birthed from Johnny Mack and tempering the expectations of Barkley, and everybody was calling him a hater. So I wanted to do something with Saquon Barkley. So anytime he gets 125 yards, not just running, by the way, rushing, receiving, and kickoffs, if he's in kickoffs, I don't care what it is, any yards for Saquon, if he gets 125 or more, we are going to give away a jersey. So that week, to one of our channel members. So you must be a channel member to win one. I believe we have 170 channel members. But the caveat with that is James Carver, our man James, I haven't seen him in a couple of days, he gifted 100. So if those people don't renew what they were gifted, it'll be just 70. And if you do the math, your odds at winning one of potentially 20 jerseys is very high if only 70 people are members. So if you want to do it, we appreciate that. Jeff calls me a hat hustler. Good stuff, Jeff. But anyway, we appreciate it if you want to become a channel member. Cody, I do think James is okay. I think he's having some issues with his dog Guinness. So we'll send our prayers up to James. I'll reach out to him. He reaches out to me on Twitter often. So I'll see. I haven't heard from him. So I hope James is all right. We'll send our prayers up to James. I'll reach out today, make sure he's all good. But anyway, thanks all you guys for being here. Hit that like button on your way out. I thought Johnny Mack was great this morning. I'll be live 12:15 today to recap practice. Then Cilio 2 to 6, and then the Birds 365, a nightcap edition. I hope to see all you guys there. Nightcap edition tonight, Birds 365, 6 to 8 p.m. Thanks everybody for being here. 12:15, Eduardo, not 12. 12:15. I got an errand to run, so I hope I'm back by 12:15. But appreciate all you guys. Love all you guys. You guys are the absolute best supporters on YouTube. Number one chat box is JAKIB Sports by far. Appreciate all you guys. Catch you next time. See you, everybody.